afternoon, everyone. Time has come for me to close this extraordinary third edition of the OECD Competition Open Day, our first, and I sincerely hope, last virtual Open Day. While we have achieved the main objective we set to ourselves when we created the Open Day, and that is to bring the work of the OECD to those who cannot be part of the discussion taking place behind the closed doors of the OECD Competition Committee, the pandemic prevented us from opening to you the real doors of the OECD and welcoming you in person here in Paris. We hope to be able to do so next year. While the last year has been difficult in many ways, the pandemic has not weakened the drive of many to continue fostering the competition policy dialogue. And I think that this is clearly demonstrated by the extraordinary participation to today's Open Day. I'm told that we were more than 2,000 to have joined today's discussion throughout the four panels and the keynotes. Now, before I share with you a few personal takeaways from today's discussions, I would like to express my gratitude to those who have made this Open Day possible. First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers and Professor Mazzucato for their inspiring interventions and for her keynote. The richness of the discussions could not have been assured without their unique insights. I would also like to thank my colleagues at the OECD at the Competition Division, Christina, Anya, Ruben, and Chris, for moderating so brilliantly today's panels. And I would like to thank our Deputy Director, Antonio Gomes, for his opening remarks. But this event would not have been possible without the commitment and professionalism of our assistants and communication officers. So let me thank especially Angelique, Erica, Claudia, and Elodie, who have worked hard behind the scenes to organize this event and set up the platform, which I'm sure we are fully appreciated during the whole day. Last but not least, I would like to reserve a special thank you to our media partners and sponsors for their support. Now, let me share with you a few thoughts from today's discussion. We started this morning discussing if and how sustainability should be integrated into the competitive assessment of competition authorities. We heard that it will not be possible to reach the net zero targets without green innovation, and we discussed the crucial role the competition policy can play in ensuring that new and greener processes and technologies are brought to the market. We discussed, quite lively I must say, if sustainability consideration should be part of the competitive assessment. But regardless of the answer to that question, there is still some debate on how we should integrate them into the traditional framework of analysis. With the green transition being at the top of government's agendas, we will surely come back to this discussion again this year, so stay tuned. In the panel on digital ecosystem, we saw how digital platforms have become central to our lives, and this phenomenon has only been reinforced during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is no doubt that integration of a wide range of products and services into an ecosystem can lead to higher efficiency and savings, and that it will improve the consumer experience. However, there may be potential competition concerns from digital ecosystems, and competition authorities and policymakers worldwide are currently under increasing pressure to tackle these concerns quickly. We have seen how remedies may include forms of ex-ante regulation and a stronger will by antitrust authorities to intervene through enforcement. What I found fascinating in this discussion on ecosystem is how traditional notions of firm, the market, what is horizontal, vertical, or conglomerate take a completely new meaning when we look at competition between ecosystem as opposed to competition in traditional markets. I'm sure that this discussion is not over. In the afternoon, after the inspiring keynote by Professor Mazzucato, we also had the privilege to hear from 5 heads of competition authorities on how competition advocacy and competition enforcement can contribute to the goal of getting our economies back on track, which is so important for the future of our societies. We heard how competition authorities can advocate for public policies and measures that are better targeted, lead to less distortion of competition, and allow for better functioning markets. On the enforcement side, we heard that competition authorities have prioritized activities that they consider will contribute towards a stronger and faster economic recovery. Now, economic recovery is the one objective that all governments around the world are called upon to pursue. And there is no doubt that the competition authorities have a key role to play towards a robust and resilient economic recovery in the months and years to come. Finally, as many of you Now, the impact of digitalization on markets and on firms' business model and commercial strategies has been one of the defining themes of the work of the OECD Competition Committee in the last years. The OECD has substantially contributed to this debate, and let me say with a pinch of pride, at times it has led the debate. Moving to the panel discussion we just heard, question over the competitive effects of the acquisition of startups of nascent firm by large incumbents, especially large digital platforms, have become central in the debate on how effective merger control regime have been in protecting competition during a period of increasing profits, increased industry concentration, and reduced business dynamism. One of the most discussed theory of harm turns around the idea that some acquisition, the so-called killer acquisitions, can kill competition before it is even there. How to assess these transactions, how to articulate the theory of harms, how we can prove the effects of these transactions on potential competition, who is a realistic potential competitor, are some of the fascinating questions we just covered and will continue to keep enforcers and policymakers occupied in the future. Today, we also released the second edition of our OECD Competition Trend publication. This year's edition consists of two parts. The first part provides an update on competition enforcement trends and developments for the years between 2015 and 2019. The second part dives deeper into the analysis of merger control trends around the globe, both from an enforcement perspective and a policy perspective. We hope that this publication will provide you with relevant and up-to-date data, as well as insight and food for thoughts to feed future competition policy research and analysis. So I would very much encourage everyone to check out our reports, which as far as I understand are now available online on our website. And we look forward to receiving feedback on the publication and how we could improve it in the future. And now a peep into the future and into what could be the agenda of the next Competition Open Day, which, as you know by now, draws inspiration entirely from the topics that our delegates decide to put on the OECD agenda during the previous year. So let me give you an insight into what is planned for 2021. Now, next June, we will explore 5 topics. We will have a roundtable on the relationship between regulation and competition enforcement, which will look at how competition enforcement interacts with possible regulatory alternatives. We will look into whether regulatory infringement can imply by itself an antitrust violation, and whether the existence of a regulation excludes by itself the possibility of an antitrust enforcement. And how antitrust enforcement can affect the content of regulation and decision on whether to adopt a new regulation. We will also have a roundtable on compliance programs, which will discuss the latest developments in the way in which compliance programs are considered by agencies when setting fines, the advocacy efforts that agencies put in place to promote effective compliance programs in the private sector, as well as the relationship between competition compliance programs and compliance programs in other regulatory fields. We will have a hearing on data portability, data interoperability, and competition, which will explore the various forms that data portability and interoperability can take, and which competition issues they can address, but also some of the false myths around this concept. We will look at the practical and legal barriers to adopting these measures and at their limitations. We will have a hearing on methodologies to measure market competition, which will look at the tools that policymakers and enforcers can use to reliably measure, track, and compare competitive intensity of a market to inform their decision-making. Finally, a roundtable, like Chris mentioned, on the concept of potential competition. We'll look at potential competition and the limitation that apply to its analysis. It will explore the role of barriers to entry, the time frame, likelihood, and strength of potential competition that is reflected in agency decision-making, and the ways in which agencies seek to address those parameters. While the work for the rest of the year, that is beyond June, is still not fully settled, here are a few additional topics that we might address. Competition issues in cultural markets, environmental consideration in competition cases. We will continue our groundbreaking work on gender and competition. And by the way, if you're interested in this area, don't forget to connect tomorrow to our seminar on this topic. You can find more information on how to register and participate on our website. We will also continue to monitor agency experiences with the 2014 recommendation on international enforcement cooperation. We will work hard to have 2 new recommendations adopted by the Council, one on procedural fairness in competition proceedings and one on competitive neutrality. and we will start work on the revision of the recommendation and guidelines on fighting bid rigging, one of our crown jewels. All in all, another exciting year ahead of us at the OECD, so don't miss any of it and follow our work on our website. Now, to conclude, thank you very much for being with us today. We sincerely hope that this Open Day has not only provided you with up-to-date information about the challenges, the opportunities, and the recent developments on competition law and policy at the OECD, but has also offered a space for exchange of ideas. We intend to make each Open Day more informative and helpful for the audience, so we encourage you to reach out to us with your suggestions. Don't hesitate to let us know what you liked and most importantly, what you didn't like, so that next time we can do better. Finally, let me remind you that we offer this event to you free of charge and that none of you had to incur any travel costs this year to attend it. So if you like the event, we wanted to offer you the opportunity to make a donation to the Red Cross. With our event, we would like to support the work of the Red Cross in fighting COVID-19 pandemic in conflict areas. So if you enjoyed the day and if you want to thank us and thank all of our speakers for their contribution, the best way is to click on the link that you will find on our platform and make a donation. There is no minimum amount. You can choose to donate as little as €1. With that, I want to thank everyone again for being here today. I wish you a nice evening or a lovely day, depending where you are. And I hope to see you all next year, needed to say here in person in Paris. So stay safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.